Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is Ikaika Ho'ohuli, your host of Unscripted Randomness with Ikaika. And on this episode of the podcast, I'm joined by one of my really good friends. He is someone who I've done ministry with for, 5+ years now. He's also a huge UT fan, Cowboys fan. So obviously most of our conversation is steered towards that, but he's also an incredibly bright individual. Obviously you can tell from the conversation we've had, he is my second return guest. So without further ado, please welcome Todd Bethke. Oh, look at that. Like old times. What's up, man?
Hello.
Hi. I do an intro before an intro piece.
Oh, so they already know who's talking?
Yeah, at this point they'll know already.
Okay.
Who's who it is.
Good. The first time I was on, I listened back and I was so like demure and like quiet and thoughtful.
I don't know if you remember me, but I kept telling you like to keep the mic right in front of your face because they're dynamic mics, right?
Uh-huh.
So
I sounded just like really like I was on sedatives or something, which I wasn't.
You know what's really funny is Ashley's gonna make fun of me for this because it'll be the first subject in what is not what we wanted to talk about. But it's funny that you're on now and Bachelor in Paradise just finished.
What is that? There's some sort of correlation between that?
Do you remember the 20-minute conversation we had on Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise?
Oh, on the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny that that's the case. And Ashley made me watch the finale with her.
Uh-huh.
And for whatever reason, Wave is like, this is hardly a sponsorship for them because they were, our internet kept cutting in and out. And I was like, you want to know what's worse than having to watch a show you already don't want to watch? Is watching it while it's buffering every 5 minutes. This is the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Maddening.
It is maddening. Maddeningly inconsistent. No, but you wanted to come on and talk about, I love this subject. I love that because of how random the show already is. I haven't talked football at all. What's funny is the listeners probably think that I only listen to or watch MMA and jiu-jitsu videos. They probably have no idea how big of a football fan I actually am.
So yeah, this is something that I've been thinking about for a little bit now. It's a little bit of a crisis of conscience I'm going through as far as like being a sports fan and what that means. And it's changed over the last several years for me, from when I was younger, and I wanted to kind of, I don't know exactly how I feel about some things, and I wanted to kind of talk it out with somebody,
Bounce
and I thought
back and forth.
The perfect opportunity to do so.
How do you mean like your feelings have changed over the years? Like give us a for instance.
Okay, so I grew up in Texas. And so my sports fandom growing up in Texas was wrapped up in the local teams. So, the Dallas Cowboys, San Antonio Spurs, college is UT Longhorns, Texas Longhorns, because
Thomas is already jumping in on this.
Because I had family that went there. I grew up in Austin. It was basically you root for your local teams, the nearest ones, right?
Yeah.
And so my fandom was wrapped up in that. And I had everybody around me pretty much rooted the same as I, and it was a collective experience, everybody together, the community, and that was awesome. Okay, so then I moved out to California when I was in middle school, and to me, it's your teams. You stick with your teams, right? You're bonded to them for life. You don't change teams. You're a traitor if you do. That sort of mentality.
Yeah. And
so I moved out here, and I kept my teams, with one exception. I really wasn't that big of a baseball fan. I rooted for the Rangers. I rooted for the Astros, but not really had too strong connection like my other sports teams did. So when I moved out here, I thought, no, great. This is my chance to, kind of, I don't have any other sports teams that are similar with the rest of the community, I'll start following the Giants and root for the Giants. And I still like the Rangers. It's a different league, right? American League, National League. And so it works out. Like, they'll be my National League team. They'll be my primary team, and I'll be able to root for it. And I went to Giants games, and I went and I rooted for them, and it was a great time period because it was right when Bonds had just come, and, that whole, the
home run champ
sure, it was,
type of season.
It was awesome.
What are your feelings on this? So I'll tell you, this is a really... I don't know what this says about me as a fan when it comes to baseball in particular, not any particular sport. So with baseball, diehard Rangers fan, we go to a game, the family, my wife and I and the family, we go to a game, and it's the Giants versus the A's. I'm a Rangers fan, which means I have been raised to absolutely loathe the A's. Mm-hmm. My team is not playing in this game. I have no skin in the game in this particular game because it doesn't mean anything specific for any other reason. And when I'm going to the game, everyone's wearing Giants jerseys, and I put on a Giants jersey. How do you feel about that, considering my team's not playing in the game?
Yeah.
Jump in, Pablo, anytime.
That's a great question. I don't feel that if you actually go to a game and I see the people that wear a third team's jersey that's not involved, and I think, weird. What are you doing? Like,
that feels weird to me.
That is weird. It's like, I know that your team might not be involved, but you don't need to like proclaim that right now. Like, if you were to go to a Raiders Chiefs game and you show up in a Broncos jersey, it's like that doesn't make sense to me, right? And so I'm with you, not wearing a Rangers gear to a Giants A's game.
Yeah, but why wear Giants gear?
Because you're cheering for the team that is playing the team that you hate.
So you're rooting against the team you hate.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing that my dad has taught me as I growing up. Two teams you don't like.
I'm not saying I did this. Spoiler alert, I did, but what I'm saying is...
So you just said you did it.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is
especially after the 2010 World Series.
Oh, well, because of the 4-1 loss, I dislike the Giants because of that, but this was pre that anyway. Oh, okay. This was in 2007, and in 2007, actually it wasn't even with my wife. Now that I'm rethinking about the memory, it was actually with Frankie. It was me, Frankie, our friend Craig, and Chris Ariano. And
let me guess, Frankie was wearing something Yankees related.
No, he wore a Giants jersey. We both, the funny thing is we were both going to the game. I think we can all agree that Frankie's pretty hardcore when it comes to his teams, but even he said the same thing. He's like, well, I don't have a team that has any skin in the game, so I'm not going to wear that. We're at our friend Craig's house, and he's like, here, wear these jerseys. Actually, mine wasn't a jersey. Frankie's was, because he could fit Craig's jerseys. I had to wear a shirt. It was a Giants shirt. It wasn't even a jersey.
Okay. Well, all right. So
I don't think that's weird. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I wasn't really cheering for the Giants. I kind of was going in a group. It was a group setting, and two of the friends who were going to the game were both Giants fans. Two were not, and neither of us had any stake in that particular game.
Okay, so that brings the question, which I was going to be getting to. Why do we choose our sports teams? Okay, what now?
Yeah.
Back to when I grew up in Texas, I chose my sports teams
geographically.
Because they were what was close to me. Were
you North Texas or South? You were North Texas, right? That's why you cheer for.
Well, it was basically what my family cheered for.
Okay.
I inherited my teams almost, right? So a lot of people inherit their teams, right? So that's one reason that people, because that's what their dad rooted for, their family roots for, they're going to root for. Some people it's geographically, and those might be one and the same. Some people it's...
well, like over here, he lives nowhere near Oklahoma.
Yeah, he's an Oklahoma City fan.
You're actually the perfect person for this, because your professional sports team, you have no stake in Cleveland, but for me it makes perfect sense why Cleveland would be your favorite
Cleveland
team.
is again. Why is it that you like the Browns?
So I grew up. I was I was a lifelong Niner fan.
Okay,
and I had just gotten so bored with professional football. Professional football was terrible. I couldn't watch it. I might,
We've disagreed on this quite a bit.
I might have kept up with just like the stats of what happened, but the product that was on the field was garbage. Love college football. right? So this
Oh,
is
I remember this. It's the Mayfield.
yeah. So I've been
Mayfield
at
of it all.
I've been working at the dealership for less than a month, and I go up to Frankie and like, hey, I'll bet you $100 Baker Mayfield goes first overall to the Browns. And I'll tell you what, if he does that, I'm gonna follow Cleveland. It's what sparked my interest. Him coming out and him getting drafted first overall was what re-sparked my interest in the NFL.
He owns a Baker Mayfield jersey.
So it's not so much that you like the Browns; it's you like Mayfield. Like
The
Baker.
Browns are my team now. I will root for the Browns.
What if Baker retires just tomorrow?
I'll still follow the Browns.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What if you want then go to the Cardinals because Murray's there? Like
No.
because that's another senior quarterback. Okay.
No, he's a Mayfield fanboy.
So-
and I think a little bit of it has to do with the fact that he's like he is the poor man's Baker Mayfield. Look at him.
No, and
He's the poor man's Baker Mayfield. Can we agree?
It's
little
funny you
bit,
bring that up. A couple weeks ago, Oklahoma's playing UCLA at the Rose Bowl, and I'm sitting on the side with all the Oklahoma fans. And this lady, it was halftime, and she's 2 rows behind me. She taps me on the shoulder, said, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" I was like, "What do you want to take a picture with me for?" Well, you look like Baker Mayfield.
Nice. Okay, so basically we'll put that in the category of force of personality. So I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people out there who are Cleveland Cavalier fans now because LeBron was a Cleveland Cavalier, and they just got kind of sucked into that, right? So you got geographically, you got inherited, stuff. You got force of personality with their favorite person was on that team, and they just started liking it.
Can we agree that basketball should not be involved in this conversation? And I only say that because basketball is one of those weird sports where because free agency is such a circus that people's favorite players move every year. And the issue with the I'm a fan of basketball, but with a lot of fans, there's not diehard, I'm diehard San Antonio Spurs fan. But for instance, right, with basketball in particular, I see more fair weather basketball fans than I do any other sport.
Yeah, but I think it's important to bring it in.
Like stereotypes are messed up, but I'm on point on this one.
Well, sure, there are, and because I think that lends to basketball being more of an individual game.
Yeah,
and
individual players are more important than the.
Just more important compared to football. They're not. I mean, the team aspect is not unimportant because there's plenty of situations where a team has beat a collective individual players, but
Allen Iverson never winning a championship, stuff like that. But he was bigger than the team, though. Allen Iverson was bigger than the team.
But you have like, for instance, when the Lakers had Kobe and
Shaq,
Malone and Peyton, that team did not win. The Pistons were a better team.
Yeah,
not as good individual players, but they beat the Lakers because they had a better team.
Yeah.
But you're more likely to root for a team or like a team because of individual players have more of a prominence than say football, which is a big time team game.
Yeah.
One individual person can impact a basketball game much more, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm battling these two things. So why do people choose certain sports or certain teams? Is there a one reason more viable than another? Is it, and then once you choose your team, can you change teams for viable reasons? Are there viable reasons to change teams?
Yeah, those are all really good questions. I have, and it's interesting for me because I grew up in Hawaii. I would say I'm at this point where I'm split 50-50 now, where I've lived on the mainland in whatever capacity in Hawaii, like almost straight down the middle now. And I started getting into sports while I was still living in Hawaii. And in Hawaii, based on where you live on that tiny little island, it was gonna base where your team is. Like there's Miami Dolphin fans. Okay, sure. It's 50.
Well, you can make the argument that it's Hawaii. You think that a lot of people would be Dolphin fans.
Yeah.
I mean, there's dolphins in Hawaii, right?
So if you use the geographical location, right, and this is where I have to school some people on geography. It's weird that we get into science on earth science or anyways. So people are like, well, aren't you a Niners fan? I'm like, well, geographically, I wouldn't be closest to San Francisco, so
Right, because to San Diego Chargers when they were in San Diego.
at the time they were San Diego.
Right.
I was like, I would have been a San Diego Chargers fan or an LA Raiders fan because I was there when they were in LA.
When they were still in LA, right?
Yeah, or an LA Rams fan, or I would have been an LA or a San Diego fan. That's what I would have been if it was geographical. What's funny is those games were not broadcast in Hawaii. Cowboy games were broadcast in Hawaii. Niner games were broadcast in Hawaii, like random assortment of games, but it was never this. It was never the same. But because Hawaii's 3 hours behind California, the East Coast games could easily be broadcast for us because it's like afternoon. It was afternoon for us when the evening games were happening. So whoever played evening games, but it's weird because there's no geographical picking in Hawaii. It's like,
right,
that's what it is. There's no professional sport out there. But I'm also not a UH fan. My family hates me for that, or they would hate me for that. I don't know that they even care to know that they're not my team.
So you started becoming a Cowboys fan because you
Yeah.
saw lots of games and they were televised a lot, and
Yeah, they were televised
They were
the most.
successful right when
Yeah.
you were that age.
Those
When
early 90s.
We're how old are you?
32.
30, okay, so I'm 36. So early 90s, yeah, they were successful right then. That's kind of when we, right, that sweet spot of really started to focus on
I'm 31.
sports.
32 in November.
Okay.
Sorry.
That sweet
I just
spot of
don't
like,
realize that.
early in life, kids are front runners, right?
Yeah.
Little kids are front runners.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's tons of Golden State Warrior fans now and they will forever will be because the Golden State Warriors were good right when they were in that 8 to 13 range.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so same with the Cowboys. The early 90s, they were good. So I just happen to be from there. I'm sure there's other people who weren't from there that are Cowboy fans because of that. So right, you in case.
Case in
so
point.
how about you? Also said you root for the Longhorns like me.
Yeah.
In what was the reason for that?
So the UT thing was I wanted to go to UT. I didn't get accepted.
Okay.
But I wanted to go to UT, and the reason is because it's a really weird story. So I was a UH fan growing up just because, again, geographically that was the closest team to us, but I didn't follow college football at the time. Like I really wasn't heavily following it. And then when I was in high school, and I'm already living in California at the time, in this area, it was like Cal was the big school. I have a really good friend, Sid Quan Thompson. He went to Cal, and then he played for the Broncos. But he, everybody wanted to go to Cal. I did not, because I was a Cowboys fan and the college team really nearest, I guess, or maybe not geographically nearest, but big school, the closest big school to the Dallas Cowboys would have been UT. And so then I started following UT. Well, it just so happens, and it goes back to the who was good at the time. It just so happens that that's the Colt McCoy era. Ish. I was like right coming into the Colt McCoy.
Well,
Vince Young had just Vince Young USC game had just happened, which is like still, you're an Oklahoma fan and you can agree that that's
One of the best college football games of all time.
all time. So I watched that game. I'm already wanting to go to UT. I watched that game and I go, I kind of want to go there. I like haphazardly applied to UT because I didn't really think I'd get in. I mean, I got accepted to UC Davis and Sac State and so on and so forth. But ultimately, I did, for me, it was like, I did not want to, I wanted to go there because of it, where it was in relation to the Cowboys. But then because of their success, I started watching the team. And then that's when I became a fan of the team, was really because of Vince Young and then rolling into again. So that's mine. It's
So we choose our teams based on a lot of factors, right? So, but what is the point of rooting for a team? This is what I've been struggling with lately. What is the point of rooting for a team? What is the point of investing your time and energy and a lot of times self-esteem, right? Because when I was younger, like when my teams lose, I felt bad about myself, right? You feel like
I kind of still do.
It's a bummer. I still
The Cowboys lost
I still
last
do.
week, I'm like,
I still do as well, and I catch myself like, why do I feel bad about something I have absolutely no control over and no stake in, other than I'm putting my time and effort and sometimes money into it when I go see a game or buy apparel or whatever the case is. Why am I putting why do I feel bad though? Like this should be a pleasurable experience. Something like why does making me feel bad about myself and ruining my Sunday or Saturday, whatever the case is? Well, why do we root for teams? Like what are we supposed to get out of it?
Well, it's funny because I think that obviously you would say guys, it ruins a guy's day when their team loses more than it would a girl. Not that to say that there aren't super fans that are women as well, but I think that you would say that if there was a group of people who were doing this, or a group of people who were getting upset over a game or whatever the case was, you would say that, 80% chance it would be a guy. And I think it is that we have an ingrained need or we have to compete with whatever it is. And I think that picking your team, I guess that's the reason why picking your team makes no difference to the reason why we would feel bad when they lose. But it's like you've invested your energy into that team, like your time and energy into that team, and when they let you down, you feel like the team the team let you down.
Right.
I don't know.
It's like once you've bonded yourself to this team, it's your tribe almost, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm getting to is, what's the reason we root for teams? And you could make the argument that the original reason that you rooted for your team was, and the reason you can go to games, and the reason it's not the same as when I sit at home and watch a game with myself. It's not the same as when I sit at home and watch a game with other people who root for the same team as me, or when I go to a game. You want this collective experience. And so you generally, back in the day, you rooted for your team that was around you, right? Because otherwise, because it was hard back 30 years ago to root for any other team other than your local team. You couldn't watch it on TV. You couldn't follow it in the paper, But once we started getting cable TV, USA Today for the sports section, the national sports section, stuff like that, now we're able to follow teams that aren't necessarily localized. And so when I move out to California from Texas, I can still follow all my teams. So it enables me to still be a remote fan, right?
Yeah.
But
now it's even more so than ever because you can stream any game.
Right. But I've lost that collective experience of going to games with people, of sitting around with people, people at my workplace all being the same fans as me, like, yay, go team that we all root for, isn't that awesome? And I've lost that. And I think to myself, have I missed the point? Am I wasting my life away rooting for teams that I'm only getting somewhat
individual pleasure out of, or negativity out of?
Negativity out of when they do good, I'm like, yay. And I call my dad, who roots for the same team as me, or my brother, and we say, yay, we did it. But that's it. Like, I miss out on all the other stuff. And so that's the kind of crisis of conscience, that I'm going through. Like, why? You
need more friends who watch football, basically.
Why do I put myself through all this? And it's not like I'm going to change. I'm not going to stop rooting for the teams I like. I just, in the back of my head, I'm like, wow, like it all makes sense that it doesn't make sense why I'm doing it in some ways. Because, like, for instance, I had a person, my boss actually, who moved down from Sacramento area to the LA area, and he always was kind of a Bay Area sports fan. Moved down to the LA area, and all of a sudden he's an LA Rams fan. Yeah. Well,
he's wearing Dodger hats,
but he actually started going to church with people who were on the LA Rams staff, became friends with them, was around that area. Like, he's part of that area, and it was a collective experience, and he got such joy out of rooting for them and doing that, and now he's moved to Nashville, and so I'm like, are you going to be a Titans fan? He's like, I don't know. And on one hand, the old me is like, that's a terrible fan. You're a terrible person. You should not just flip teams like that. You go from being a Northern California sports fan somewhat to LA Rams, and then now you don't know if you're going to be that's terrible. That's horrible. You're a traitor. You know, all those things that we think of. But in the other side of me is like, you know, he probably got such joy of like that collective experience. The LA Rams did really well in the Super Bowl last year. Knowing those guys, why is that less viable than anybody else?
You're letting your Christian heart get in the way of the way that you're letting it get in the way of what it really is. He's a terrible fan. You don't do that. You don't flip flop on your team.
I know.
I would say Thomas's reasoning for flip flopping teams, he didn't flip flop teams. He stopped paying attention to a team and stopped rooting for the team. And it was almost a decade later when, because of one specific reason, he became a fan of another team. Mm-hmm. That is different than flip flopping teams randomly and like at the flip of a coin.
But you can make the argument that, well, why root for a quote unquote team? It's just an organization that just wants your money. Right? It's just laundry. You're rooting for laundry, as Seinfeld once put it. You're rooting for laundry. Why not root for the people, the players that are the ones you actually like? Why not root for the coach that you might like? And then maybe that changes. Are you really rooting for like the president of the organization?
Well, see, I mean, I kind of do that, right? There are certain players that I follow and I want them to do well. Jim Harbaugh at Michigan is an example. Okay. Right? He has not done anything at Michigan.
He's about to lose his job at Michigan, bro.
He is. But, you know, watching him at Stanford, right, with Andrew Luck, or even with Toby Gerhart before him, who should have won the Heisman, by the way.
Yes.
100%.
Agreed.
Watching what he did there to Stanford and completely turning that place around. And then to be hired by the 49ers, which I did not like the decision to fire Mike Singletary, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was going to be building something. Anyways, they bring him in and to go 6-10 the year before to take him into the NFC Championship game. And on the doorsteps, you know, one muffed punt away from going to the Super Bowl. Right?
I mean, yeah.
Well, he didn't go to the Super Bowl.
No. But his first year, right? Going from 6-10 to that the next year. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And so, you know, following the Niners and how that organization imploded.
3-0 now.
3-0 now. One of the last 3 undefeated teams. So then he accepted the job in Michigan, and I like Harbaugh. Right? I've loved his attitude. You know, I've loved watching his press conferences, everything. So, you know what?
He's playing the big boys now.
Now, and that's not to say I'm all go Big Blue, right? But I do keep a closer eye on them than I would say Miami or Florida State, right? Just because I do like Harbaugh and I do want him to do well.
So then why is that? That's a fine reason in my head.
Yeah.
But I guess it comes down to I'm weighing this old tribalistic mentality of loyalty to your die to your team to now like. What is really the point of rooting for people?
I think that they've done a really good job with how they've structured the NFL because I don't care one way or the other with almost any AFC team unless they're playing the Cowboys. I think they've done a really good job with making me hate NFC East teams. Absolutely hating them.
I do, yeah.
But that's because they've put them into the point where it's like, okay, there is the entire country of football teams. Of the entire country of football teams, you have 2 conferences, and then those 2 conferences you're going to play the more often than you will the AFC teams unless you make it to this next level, right? But within that NFC, then there's this division, and that division you're going to see them twice a year for your entire
familiarity breeds contempt, right?
It does, and so the fact that we've played and I say we, I hate doing that. I actually make fun of people who do it, and I do it myself. But I'm like, it's not we. I don't work for them. I don't play for them. I don't own any stake in the actual Dallas Cowboys. So I should say rather. So the Cowboys themselves, they've played the Washington Redskins 140 some odd times, something like that. I can't remember what it is. I'll have Pablo look that up. But something like 100 and some odd games, right? And it's like they don't that amount of games. That familiarity does breed that contentment. Like we've played them so many times, they know each other's they know each other. They know each other's organizations. And there's almost something really fun about that. I think it's just fun more than anything else for me. Because I don't take it that seriously. I'm not the guy who burns jerseys when people leave my team. I'm not that fan. But I'd say I'm a pretty book smart fan.
So they've played 118 times. Cowboys lead the series 72, 45, and 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it says their first meeting was in 1960.
Cool. Well, the Cowboys became an organization then, so.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Then again, I don't care about the Cowboys, so I would have no way of knowing that.
Yeah. There's Cowboy fans who probably don't know that.
Yeah. Well, so.
Who was the quarterback when you started watching football?
Troy Aikman.
It was Aikman? Yeah. Same thing with me. I don't really remember the Steve Walsh days. I guess that happened like right before. I mean, I was like 3 when that happened.
No, wasn't Aikman drafted in 89?
89, yeah.
89. But
So-
he didn't play the first year. Steve Walsh was the quarterback at the time.
And
And
they were garbage the first year.
Oh, and
They were
They
1
went
and 15.
1 and 15, yeah.
They went no. The first year, his first year was a strike season. It was like they went 1 and 11. I think it was 12 games. It was a 12-game season. I'm like 90% sure.
Maybe so. But yeah, I know that it was one win.
One
But
win, and Steve Walsh won that game. It wasn't even Troy Aikman who won that game.
And Aikman's my favorite Cowboy. Like I love my favorite number is number 8 for the reason.
I don't care what anybody says. Tony Romo is my favorite Cowboy of all time.
I love Tony Romo too. He got so unlucky.
He had no players around him. He didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher until his like 8th year in the league. Ugh, come on, give me a break. Yeah, okay, he was injury riddled because he had no line. They draft Tyron Smith, they draft Travis Frederick, and they draft Zach Martin when he's on his last leg and has like 1 rib left. Come on, of course he. Whatever. I'm not going to get on that high horse. Yeah, for all the playoff woes, I don't care. He had nobody around him. He won and lost those games by himself.
He also believes Tony Romo should be a Hall of Famer.
I absolutely 100% unequivocally will defend that to the death of me. He had nobody. He turned Miles Austin into a 1,300 yards, 13 touchdown catching receiver. He turned him into that because he went to the Eagles and did nothing. He was undrafted into the league and he did nothing until Tony Romo made him that 1,300-yard receiver. He made him into that.
Yeah, no, I mean I don't know about Hall of Fame, but he's much better than what his due is given.
Yeah.
So my concern.
Did you look up the season? That Steve Walsh season, the 1989 Cowboys season. So I saw you looking at it. I'm like,
I was just waiting for a good play. No, Jimmy Johnson never coached in a strike shortened season. He was 1 and 15 his first year, just like I thought. 7 and 9, 11 and 5, and then his last 2 years.
Who are you talking about?
Jimmy Johnson.
We're not talking about Jimmy Johnson. We're talking about.
Well, no, I'm saying that in 1989 it was the year Troy Aikman.
I think it was
drafted.
Wasn't it the 88-89 season? So it would have been the season before that.
I think Aikman's first year he was only 1 win. But okay, getting to my much larger point, I worry that because of the ability for us to root for teams nationwide, wherever, because of games are much every game's on. It's NFL Sunday Ticket. You can follow online, whatever the case. That we now are a collection of individuals that just root for random teams, and there's no collective bonding experience between people and neighbors and everything. So
I don't know. I have a different experience. My experience is that because of the amount of diversity with football teams at like where I work, for instance, right? We have me and one other guy are diehard Cowboy fans. We have a Browns fan. We have a bunch of Niner fans, a good portion of Niner fans. We have a Texans fan. We have a Miami Dolphins fan. We have a whole slew of different fans there. And we have with the exception of one guy because he takes it too seriously. Outside of that, we kind of have like a fun little trash talking thing going, and nobody takes it too far with the exception of the one person. So in my experience.
He who will not be named, is it?
Yeah.
So you like the bantering back and forth.
Yeah, we won't say his name. So we'll make up a name. We'll call him like, I don't know, Francis Keith Romaneski II. That's his name.
That sounds like a very exact name.
That's a very exact name.
I don't know this person.
Frankie knows how bad he is.
But
Frankie knows how bad he is. Oh, Pablo's bowing.
Pablo has to leave. Well,
did he at least mute his mic? He did.
He did a good job. So that's my concern, because I think that a lot of this goes to a larger geopolitical statement of a lot of our community, things that tie our community together are going by the wayside. And sports is one of those things. Community sports, the ties that bind you and your community together. Church attendance obviously goes down is nationwide. And that's one of those ties that binds. Community events, people are becoming more and more reclusive, staying in their house. You got Netflix. Why do I need to leave? You don't go out and so I think all these community ties are like
Amazon Pantry will literally deliver your groceries to you. You don't even have to go to the grocery store anymore.
Yeah, it's so
we're guilty of it. We use HelloFresh and we use Amazon for Amazon Pantry.
So you don't go to the store and see the same people every Tuesday.
Yeah, you don't see the bag checker who's like, "Hey, how's the family?"
Yeah, exactly. So all these community ties are just becoming severed one by one by one by one.
Well, I don't know my neighbors very well. I talk to them every now and again. I walk my dog and see them and talk for 15, 20 minutes, but that's about it.
Yeah. I think that'll change for you. I think once you become super invested in the house you live in, that'll change. I think, just knowing your situation, but yeah, that's my concern. I guess it's a lot in part of the larger concern about the community and why is my rooting for the Cowboys by myself on a Sunday night, and then feeling bad when they lose.
It's almost weird, right?
By myself.
Like, and they score a touchdown and you're like,
by myself.
Oh, nobody's here.
Yeah, exactly. I used to yell at my kids like, "Dad, what's wrong?" "Nothing. It's fine."
That just happened to me. I was not this week, but the week before, I'm watching the Cowboys game by myself. And I have Sunday ticket too, so I'm flipping through games and stuff like that. And every time something happens, I also play fantasy football. So that's a thing that I think is ruining people choosing their teams because you're rooting for certain players. But we'll get into that. That'll be the next subject.
Fantasy football. Yeah, let's get into that, please. I have lots of thoughts on that.
Yeah, actually, before we do that, I'm going to take a quick break.
We're like 37 minutes.
That's it?
So you know where you're at.
Yeah, usually he would give me the little hand signals. Anyways, fantasy football.
Oh yeah, so that you're right. I think that has contributed both to the popularity of the NFL in general, but also to the I don't know, disconnection of people with
teams.
But I mean, I don't know if we can draw a direct correlation between fantasy football and the collective.
I think it's that and experience. Like NFL Sunday Ticket making games so easily watched. Like any team, you can watch any team.
You're not locked into the local Niner game.
Yeah, or like NFL Bite. People are streaming them illegally, which, by the way, I do not. I own Sunday Ticket and I have DirecTV.
Right. So and I guess all these choices in general, like if 20 years ago, on a Sunday afternoon, everybody's watching one of 5 channels, and most likely you're going to watch the local football game. And when you go to work the next day, everybody kind of chats about the game. But now with infinite choices, you're not watching the football game. You're not, and so you go to work, and it's like, I'm not really going to talk to you about the game because no one else watched it, and so that collective experience is gone.
Well, but then there's the argument that, like, for me, right? I play in a fantasy football league at my work, and 10 of the employees who are in it, we trash talk all week because we're so and so is going to play so and so.
Yeah.
But then also that infinite possibilities, when you have a player who's playing, you're emotionally invested in that game. So for instance, last week, which by the way I lost, but I lost because the guy had Nick Chubb and
I played against
Godwin.
Nick Chubb too.
Yeah, 44 points in my league. And then Godwin, what's his name? Carlos Godwin or whatever his name is, the receiver for Tampa. Chris Godwin. He went off for 36. So it's like, how do you beat that? How do you beat 80 points out of 2 players? You don't.
Right.
You know, and I lost by the amount that if Nick Chubb would have gotten his projected points, which was like 12 or whatever, I would have won. I would have beat him. Anyways, neither here nor there. But I have investment in a specific game. You watch that game because the Cowboys game is at night, right? So it's like, well, what game do you watch now? Do you just watch whatever's local? No. I'm going to watch the one that has the most involvement. Or I watch NFL Red Zone and I see when players are going to score. Or you watch Fantasy Football Live where they're giving you update on fantasy on players who are scoring or whatever the case is, however many points this particular person has or whatever the case is. So I think that brings a different level to the game.
It all contributes to why people aren't watching one single game; they're watching multiple. And,
which is good for the league, right? Because for the league, they're like, okay, well, people are wanting to tune in for these other games, even if they're trash games, right? Who recently played? Who was it? Who did the Steelers just play?
Oh yeah, well the battle of the beatens.
Of the beatens. Yeah,
they're both 0-3. They just played the. Oh,
off the top of my head, I can't even think. They're both 0-3.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it was the Bengals, right?
There you go.
Divisional game and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Right. They're who cares? They're AFC North. Who cares? Anyways, they're battle of the all beatens, but Juju Smith-Schuster is obviously a player that people have on their fantasy team. James Conner is a player that people have on their fantasy team. On the other side, you have
Dalton,
Andy Dalton,
Ross, the receiver. You have,
what's their running back? Oh my goodness,
he would know. He's a ex-Sooner. Oh yeah.
Why can't I think of his name? Anyways, see,
Pablo is here.
They're that useless. Those two teams, but they have value to some people, even if they're not fans of the team. There's value in watching those games if you play fantasy football. So for the league, it's fantastic, right? Because otherwise, I would never watch that game unless I had. But I don't have players on that team. But I know if I'm playing against someone who has that player on their team, I might watch the game to see how the player does. Tyler Eifert's also on the Bengals too.
Yeah. So you do have interest, and that's good.
To like a team to a game that would otherwise be a trash can of a game.
Well, it was.
Yeah, I mean it was. Yeah,
it was a
It
blow.
was almost like watching the Steelers versus the Niners. That was like the hardest game to watch. I'm like, okay, can I just go back there because I'm not going to turn the ball over 6 times? Like let me just play.
So what do I do about myself, Kaika? What do I do about these feelings I have about what is right and proper for me to.
What are your feelings on? I don't think we've actually gotten to that. What are your feelings on how someone should choose their teams?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of settled on. There's no viable like right way to choose a team. There's so many different ways.
What would make you happy?
I used to feel like there was a right way.
Yeah.
But now I don't anymore. I don't think. I think there's so many right ways to choose a team, and I can't really say that one's better than other. But I think what my feelings are is that I bemoan the fact that we don't have this collective experience anymore. I keep saying that collective experience. We don't have this thing that all kind of another way to bind us together.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of a larger conversation about our country in general, that we're just losing all those ties that bind us together.
Would you not enjoy it just as much though if you watched the game with someone with people, even if they didn't have the same team as you? Like for instance, right? Darren is a good friend of both of ours. Darren is a New York Giants fan. which is obviously a divisional opponent. But I would still enjoy watching the game with him. I'd probably trash talk him a little bit, but I'd enjoy watching the team. Do you not feel like there's still that camaraderie, even if they're even if they're the opposite team, even if they're not the same team as ours? As long as you're watching it together and you're cheering and crying and laughing and
But I don't think you do as much. I've watched games with Darren, and it's great watching games with Darren. I love watching games
he's not
with
really a
Darren.
trash talker though. I think trash talking is a little bit of the
But it's only if you're playing
that
his team.
Yeah.
Like if I'm watching just the Cowboys play the Eagles, he's watching with me. It's different when the Cowboys score than as if we were watching together, because we'd be like all high-fiving and Darren's like, he doesn't have that investment in them that we do,
we would
our
have.
team.
Yeah.
So it is
I see your point.
much more beneficial to watch with somebody, but it's not quite the same as, when I just go back to, when the Longhorns won the national championship against USC that you referenced earlier. I watched with a group of Longhorn fans, and it was an amazing experience. And so I think we're all chasing that, right? We're all chasing that experience of when it all comes together. When the Giants won the World Series, and so 3 times they did, you chase that experience and you put yourself through, all this time and effort and energy and disappointment usually for the hope that one day the team you root for, succeeds and wins. And it's almost like you have to, the more you invest and the more disappointment you put yourself through, the better it's going to feel at the end.
At the end, when they finally do
right.
it.
Because if you just kind of root passively, like, I guess I'm there, I'm a fan of that.
And then they win.
And
it's
they win,
I wasn't as emotionally invested
Right.
as I should have been.
The lower the lows, the higher the highs are going to be. But is that really healthy? That's what I keep going back to. Is that really healthy for me?
Incredibly not healthy.
Not healthy
it's
at
like
all.
As the most opposite of healthy as it possibly could have been.
So why do we do it? Back to fantasy football. Why do we do fantasy football?
Because it's fun.
Is it? Is it
fun.
really?
I'm 1-3 and I'm having fun.
I played fantasy football for 15 years now, whatever the case is. Every year, I put myself through worrying about things that I don't really need to worry about, spending time and effort, energy, and money on things that probably don't benefit me in the long run, and I'm worried about games that I have no control over and things and I stress out and pull my hair out and whatever the case is. And it's all just a toss of a coin. Because, for instance, right now, you shouldn't talk about your fantasy football team. No one cares. But here, my team, I have the most, through 4 weeks, the most points of any other team collectively throughout these 4 weeks. But I also have the most points against me of any. So I am 1-3 with the most points scored in the entire league with my team. But I'm 1-3. It's like I've done everything possible for my team to succeed, but it's not. It's 1-3.
Fantasy football is more of a coin toss though, because you don't know who's going to go off on any particular week. And that, I feel like there's less skill other than playing matchups. I think there's less skill in that than there is when it comes to the actual game. So, like, I'm a fan of the X's and O's, and I would venture to say I'm a bigger fan of MMA when it comes to knowing the difference of, like, for instance, right? There's something to me that makes me psychologically more invested in the game, knowing that there's a level that people who aren't doing it just don't understand. Like, we don't understand the speed of the game. We only say the words, he's adjusting to the speed of the game, because we've heard people who have done it say those words. We don't really know what those words mean, because as far as our eyes see it, the game is the same speed. A guy who's running the same 4.3 speed, the plays are unfolding at the same speed to us. For lack of a better term, we're idiots when it comes to the actual game, right? Like, we may say, hey, we know the X's and O's. Hey, we may know what the formation of the play is. We may know certain things, but we don't know, like, the next elite level. Like, when someone is doing something, we don't know it really. We may think that we do, but we don't really know it. For instance, like, and I won't use it in the football terms because I'll sound like an idiot because I don't know it in football terms, but I do know it when it comes to, like, to MMA, right? So for mixed martial arts,
You need a sounder for whenever you bring up MMA.
it'll be this. It'll be
No, it needs to be something like
you want like this.
something like that, quick and easy like that. Like every time you bring up MMA, because every time throughout the podcast, it comes every once in a while, but it's a constant presence in your podcast.
It is, because I can't not talk about it. But it's because because I know the ins and outs. Like what I'm trying to talk about is like the part that we don't know about football or that we don't know about basketball or whatever sport we're talking about. It's the same as the stuff that most people don't know about when it comes to MMA or boxing or whatever. Like people don't get people don't get that when they go, well, that guy just got knocked out by a jab. How did he get knocked out by a jab? Oh, he must have a weak chin. Like I hear that and I'm like, okay, you clearly don't know what you're talking about, because like if you watch someone throw a right hook in boxing or in MMA, whatever combat sport, you watch someone throw a right hook. If the guy sees the right hook coming, he does it. He rolls with the punch, meaning that he'll absorb the punch in a different way and move his body in the way where he's not taking the same damage. It's not the punch that you see coming; it's the punch that you don't see coming that really knocks you out. So if you're rolling with a right hook and you don't see a jab coming right after it, and you get clipped by that jab, you're gonna get that's what puts people out. You know, when Forrest Griffin was fighting Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva's taking a step back and throws a tiny little jab, and you see Forrest Griffin, who goes on to become a world champion, gets knocked out, and everyone's like, well, what was that? Like, he got knocked out. He must have threw the fight. Oh, some mobster must have had money on the fight or whatever they were saying. But they were saying that he threw the fight. I'm like, no, he just didn't see the jab coming and it put him out. And it's the same thing with football. We don't know because we've never experienced that level of that very next level. And the only reason why I talk about it is because when I talk to Sid, who played in the NFL, when I talk to Larry Grant, who played in the NFL, these are people that I played football with in like elementary, or not elementary, but junior high through high school with. Like these guys all know the game on a different level than how we know it, right? Like Larry was a linebacker for the Niners when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Ravens. He knows the difference between he knows the stuff that we don't know. It's hard to put into words. I don't know if that makes sense. So for me, there's something that's really exciting about knowing that there's something out there in that game that I'm watching that I didn't get. Like I don't understand why when someone's like, I don't know why he didn't just throw the ball away. It's like, well, there's more to it than that. If he could have just thrown the ball away, the professional athlete would have thrown the ball away. It's easy to be an armchair quarterback and be like, well, he didn't see the guy wide open in the end zone. It's like, well, the defense were running a trap cover too. If he throws it that way, he looks wide open. He's not wide open if they're running a certain scheme. Mm-hmm. But we're so dumb to the fact. I can't find the word for it. I mean, we're dumb when it comes to certain things like that.
Oblivious,
like whatever. Yeah, we're there. That's the word. Ignorant. We're ignorant to the fact that like we think that this guy is open because we are not playing at that next level. We've never played at that level, right? You were an excellent quarterback. You played quarterback, right? That was what you played.
Yeah, but yeah,
in defense as well,
everything,
right?
Basically.
Yeah,
but I played in college for 2 weeks, and then I blew out my ACL, and that was that.
Yeah.
But I don't have that next level that even college players do.
Yeah.
So I get you. Yeah. When I hear podcasts and people talk about, coverages, and I read stuff about how my teams are running certain coverages, and I'm pretty well versed on most people, but even I'm like, cover 4 matching with you take the second receiver out of, it's like I'm struggling to figure that out. But yeah, people know so much more than me. But I get what you're saying in that it's interesting to see excellence. It's interesting to see the shell game and the strategy that's involved in one team does something, the other team does another thing, and when you can kind of start to see between those lines, it really takes on another aspect. I totally get why people watch football. I get why people watch sports in general. You want to see excellence. You want to see the game within the game. And And so, but I still go back to like, why am I putting my heart and soul into something that I'm increasingly trying to figure out what is the benefit to me?
Maybe it's just fun watching someone do something that you cannot do.
No, I get the watching. It's the rooting.
Why do you do it?
I get the watching. I'm never going to not watch sports.
I feel like it's because it's not as fun if you're not rooting for a team.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be fun if I said, you know what, I'm done rooting for teams. I'm going to root for nothing. I'm going to watch the games. There's not going to be the same enjoyment. Like you want to see the success. And again, like you said earlier, the highs are higher when the lows are low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So seeing your team go
sense.
from for instance, the 6-10 Niners go to the NFC Championship game the next year, that's the highs being high and the lows being low.
Right. Yeah, I get that because the enjoyment is tied in the eventual highs. And if you just don't have a team and you are at a baseline of never really caring too much, or not getting your heart broken, but never really having that mountaintop moment, that you're not gonna have the same enjoyment.
1 in 15 Troy Aikman goes to win 3 Super Bowls. I mean, that's highs being really high.
Sure.
So I think it's hard because you can't sell. There's not as much to celebrate. There's not as much enjoyment just watching someone do something that you can't do. That's really amazing. Watching the excellence. It's not as fun to watch it if you don't have an emotional investment in the team. That's probably the reason why. Mm-hmm. But it's again, when you go back to is it healthy or not healthy? It's probably incredibly unhealthy. But
so where are we landing? Are we landing on, as far as choosing a team? Is there a right way to choose a team, or is there lots of different right ways?
I would say that there are multiple right ways. I also think there's wrong ways to.
Okay, what are some wrong ways?
The wrong way is your boss that you were talking about moving to Tennessee. Like if he becomes a Titans fan, for instance, because he lives geographically closer to that team, but he moved there and hopped teams that quickly.
What
I have an issue with that.
What if he is just searching for that collective experience of being able to root and commune with others and be able to go to the sports bar or whatever, or his work or his church and talk with them and have that emotional connection with them?
So to that I would say this: the Titans are an AFC team. If the Rams are his team, it's an NFC team. Root with your friends. It's like the Rangers Giants debacle we were talking about earlier. If the Rangers aren't playing the Giants, whatever, I'll cheer for the Giants as long as they're beating, as long as they're, the people who are there are. You know what I'm saying? So he could still cheer for the Titans. I wouldn't say that there's anything wrong with him cheering for the Titans, but as his team.
Yeah, I think that I can't fault even that though. Yeah, I think that what's tying him to the Rams at this point?
I don't know what's tying us to the Cowboys.
It's true.
30 years of cheering.
The one thing I can say is the wrong way to pick a team is the person who just roots for whoever's good, right?
Yeah,
we can all probably agree that
bandwagoners,
the bandwagon fans,
like all the people who became New England fans because Tom Brady won his 6th
or to
Super
try
Bowl.
and misrepresent, like, oh yeah, I've always rooted for them. Like,
that's the worst.
No, you haven't.
Like, no,
I've never seen you wear that hat before in my life.
It's like when I talk about Monte Ellis being on the Golden State Warriors and people are like, who? I'm like, what?
Right.
Like, just so you know, they were pretty close to like, does Monte Ellis stay on the team or does Steph Curry take over as the guy? Like it was pretty close.
Right. As long as people represent, like, yeah, I really didn't follow them, and like now I like them, and I'm gonna root for them from here on out. Then I think that's fine.
My kids stood no chance though. Like, so I think that is the most pure way to become a fan of a team. I think geographically would be very pure. The other one would be if your parent rooted for a team and you started rooting for that team, you didn't know any better, and then maybe you fell in love with the team. That's a little bit of what happened to me too. Is not only were Cowboy games broadcast a lot, my dad was a Cowboys fan, so that also did something. My mom was a Steelers fan. I don't get that.
Yeah, the fact that I had the same team as my dad and I can talk to him about that. That's one of the things I can always talk to my dad about our sports teams, and it's something that I love the fact that it ties me to him in that way, and we share that. So we can go to games, and it's something that throughout the years, it's always, it's been touchstone that we can always both point to. And so I think that's also a phenomenal reason to like sports team is because your family or, has that, so you can be together.
Ashley was born in Texas, and yet she was not a Cowboys fan until she started dating me. And then she got all into it.
Makes it easier, probably an easier transition, or to her to.
So she grew up a Raiders fan, but she was born in Texas, but she lived majority of her childhood in Aptos, which I guess is
But I mean, until you're, some kids it's earlier, but until you're in that 8-year-old range, I mean, you don't really care.
Do your kids follow sports?
Kind of. Not really. I don't
My
really.
kids don't at all.
And I don't really push it on. Like one of them loves the Cowboys. Not loves, but just he roots for them. That they're his team, quote unquote. But he doesn't watch the games.
Yeah.
And so they kind of do. If you asked them what the fans they were, they would probably say the same as me. But it's tenuous, I would say. But I don't push it on them because it's like I'm not gonna. I don't want to. It kind of goes along with all these things that I've been thinking about. Like, do I really want to push it on them and make them like tied to this thing that might cause them, sadness?
So that's true. No, so none of my kids follow football. Carly somewhat follows baseball, and she's a Giants fan, but that was because that was her first professional baseball game that she ever watched was a Giants game, and so she became a Giants fan. I don't push my sports team on the kids. She's also she's a Golden State Warriors fan. I think that if you asked her, she'd say, and I could be wrong on this, but I vaguely remember her saying these words to me, that it's because Steph Curry's a Christian. He has Philippians 4:13 on his shoe and stuff like that. So she picked her teams on her own. I'm obviously a San Antonio Spurs fan. I'm a Rangers fan. The picture on my bank card is a picture of us at a Rangers and A's game at the Oakland Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chloe will always say she's a Cowboys fan. She'll always say she's a Rangers fan. She doesn't like sports, not even in the slightest, but she knows that it makes me happy when she says it. So I think if you asked her, she would say all those things. She wears her Cowboys jersey around the house every now and again just to like, hey, Dad, look, I'm wearing Cowboys stuff, which is awesome.
Right.
I love that.
It's a tie that binds. It's a collective experience between you and your daughter. It's great, yeah.
But she doesn't watch them. She'll sit down and watch a few drives with me, and then she's gone again. And all the kids will wear Cowboy jerseys. They all own Cowboy jerseys.
Right.
Carly would say that her favorite football team is the Cowboys. She also says she doesn't watch football. If you're like, who's your favorite football team? I don't watch football, but Cowboys, I guess. That's how she would answer that. Caden has no interest in sports at all. We've put him in sports. He's athletic, but he doesn't care. He doesn't want to play. He does jujitsu. And that's it. He's where is it? No, so he does do that, and that's the only sport he plays. Because outside of that, he plays chess. He loves chess. He's a big time reader. He reads like at least a book a week. His best grades are all in grammar and English classes, and that's him. That's his personality. I steer into the skid. I don't need my son to be a super athlete. I don't really care. Actually, I don't want him to play football anyway. There's too much CTE. And I'm like, no, I don't want my son to be brain damaged. So I'm perfectly happy with him maybe playing flag football. He wants to play basketball. Perfect. You're not going to get hit in the head almost ever, right? I'm happy with that. Good cardio. Good cardio. Very low injury risk. Yeah, done deal. Soccer has more injury than basketball does. So he wants to play basketball, but he's really not that into sports. He hated baseball. He hated it. He was he played to appease us, and I'll never do that ever again because I can see the non-enjoyment in his eyes. I'm going to wait for him to tell me, like, Carly's going to play basketball this year. She chose that, I was pretty athletic growing up. Ashley was also. We both varsity lettered in multiple sports, and so for me to have kids that don't want to be athletes, they want to do. They have other interests. I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
As long as they're doing something.
Sure.
Caden plays chess, does jujitsu, wants to play basketball. Carly, basketball. All my kids do jujitsu. Either way, I want them to be able to choke people out if they have to. So
It's a life skill.
it is a life skill. I've never had to use it though, really. Except for yahoos who challenge me at work, and Ashley doesn't like me doing that. But I've had people who try to wrestle me at work, and
Well, like coworkers, just like
yeah,
goofing around.
They'll like, hey, I could take you. I'm like, okay, sure. And then they get choked out. I had there was a friend of ours who mine and Pablo's actually, and they recorded. I'm like, dude, we probably shouldn't record this, but he was like passing out. So
there is no the only bad way to pick a team is to be a front runner and jump around to whoever's good at the moment.
I would say
everything else is pretty viable. Is it?
I would say so.
Okay. All right.
But like we have New England fans at work where they're legit New England fans, and then there's the ones where it's like, okay.
And so rooting for your sports team and putting your time, effort, energy, and heart and soul into it is bad for you, but it's probably worth it if they win.
That's such a bad way to put it. I mean, it's such a great way to put it because it puts it all in perspective, but it's such a hard thing to hear. It's probably terrible for you unless your team wins.
Right.
Like,
I mean, you got these teams. I mean, you had the Cubs fans who for 100 years, before that, the Red Sox, 100 years, these people, poor people, some of which probably died waiting for a Cubs, in Red Sox World Series. They missed out.
That's pretty sad.
It is sad.
That's a sad thing to think about.
Think about like the person who an old, 95-year-old who rooted for the Cubs his whole life, and then like he died right before they won.
So here's what sucks. I have in the three majors. I would throw my four sports out. Let's throw the big four out there, right? So football, I've watched my team win a Super Bowl. Basketball, I've seen my team win an NBA championship, right? Soccer, I mean, if you want to consider that, I would say I'm a Quakes fan because the MLS wasn't around when I was a kid. So I guess we've been to a couple of Quakes games, which was fun. We have some Quakes gear. But I don't follow it. I don't know that they've ever won or lost it. I don't know. I've seen the games that we've seen live, so I don't care about that. Mm-hmm. But then my baseball team, which I am emotionally invested in, and I could end up like those Cub fans because the Rangers have never won a championship. They've been twice, got their butts kicked both times. Mm-hmm. So I can't say that I don't know what those Cubs fans felt like. And it is it's heartbreaking to lose 4-1 and then to get swept the very next time we make it to the World Series. Mm-hmm. That's hard.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy.
Back to what we were saying.
These are the thoughts I have as for instance.
What'd you have written down? What was the stuff?
Oh, these are just my things to touch on, which we've touched on.
Yeah.
But for instance, I don't know why I keep doing this. I talk all this, and then I continue to do it to myself. For instance, 4 years ago, I decided I wanted to watch Premier League soccer. I wanted to start watching more soccer. I watched the World Cup 4 years ago, actually 5 years ago now, and I thought, you know what? I want to start watching high-level soccer because I really enjoy it.
Who'd you follow?
So
Premier League. I watch Premier League, so
I didn't have a team, so I'm like, let me go through this methodically, as this is the first time that I don't have like one of the things we talked about, whether it be familial, family, geography.
Your
desire,
League is
desire from
Europe.
A collective experience because no one's around me that watches it. So I'm just gonna pick it.
Who'd you pick?
So I decided I wanted to pick. I didn't want to pick one of the main big four.
Yeah,
it's
Man U. You don't want to pick Man U and
Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool.
Okay, so did you pick Tottenham?
Yeah,
that's my team. I'm not even joking.
No,
Harry Kane.
not.
I love Harry Kane. I love Harry.
What?
Yeah, Harry Kane is that's my jam.
Okay, so
dude.
I didn't want to pick. I just wanted to pick the high level teams because it's the Yankees. Otherwise you're picking the Yankees.
Yeah, for
or the
sure.
Red Sox. I wanted to pick, but I didn't want to pick someone who had absolutely no
Look,
shot.
my first thing on my ESPN app is Tottenham. Dude, I love. Oh,
Why do we have
right,
all the
right
same
there,
teams?
Tottenham, right there, first one. That's
So-
what I knew you were gonna say. That's why I wanted to know who you
So 5
picked.
years ago, I decided I didn't want to be one of the
I did
main.
the same thing, though.
The big teams, because that seems cheating, seems front runnery. But I didn't want to pick a team that had absolutely no shot of ever winning the league, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to pick some small, tiny Norwich City or Aston Villa or something like that. Then I thought about, you know what? If I ever go over there, I want the opportunity to maybe see a game. So I didn't want to pick some team in some tiny little thing up in the northwest of England. So like it needs to be in some kind of near a big city.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pick a team that had, colors that I liked, or cool uniform, or at least good uniforms, or a mascot, or or have a chance to what was I going to say to be able to go there and watch a game that isn't like crazy sellout, and never be able to get a ticket, stuff like that. So I kind of I landed on Tottenham. They're
How long ago did you do that?
right after the 5 year ago World
Okay,
Cup.
so you were there for the Dele Alli.
When they signed him and everything.
yeah.
So I started following right away, and they hadn't been in the top four of the Premier League since I think 4 years before that. So it wasn't like they were really all that good. But all of a sudden, right when I started following them, top 5, top 4, top 3, top 2, top 3, top 3, top 4. Like they've been good the last 5 years. All of a sudden, and on an upward trajectory. And so I've watched all the games, and that in addition to all the new streaming and new.
Oh yeah,
lot more
I have ESPN Plus, so I can watch them, and then for UFC as well. But that's the reason why I got ESPN Plus in the first place, was because you can watch all the Tottenham games, and so that's how.
Yeah, so I
watched them for like 7 or 8
and I watched
years.
them by myself. No one else I know until now is a fan. So I watch them all by myself, and I go through and I get mad at when they lose, and I get bummed when they lose, and I get happy when they win. But I'm not doing this with anybody. I'm just doing it by myself.
You have someone to do it
It's
with now.
weird though, right? Isn't that weird that the last 5 years I've become this big, huge Tottenham Hotspur fan. I follow them, I read about them, I listen to podcasts. I have 2 podcasts I listen to about them, and I have another third one that is about Premier League in general that I listen to. I listen to so when they touch on them and the other big teams. I'm putting myself through this, but what am I getting out of it?
This conversation, that's what you got out of it.
5 years down the road, I was hoping to have a conversation.
It finally
It's paid off. It's just.
That's funny. I've never met another person that's from America that I can talk to about that in particular. Because I've the same way. That's 6 years or so, 7 years. I've been following them. I picked them pretty much the same way you did. I said, listen, when I started looking at them, I was like, Man U's like so huge, and Chelsea, and I'm like, these teams, they're so, I don't want to do that. I did the exact same thing you did.
And the icing on the cupcake was, they're the Spurs.
The Spurs.
I'm already a Spurs fan.
I'm not even joking.
San Antonio Spurs.
And then I love their colors. I like their colors too, and I like their jerseys.
They're clean.
So I saw them and I was like, all right, I like that. That's what I'm
Lily
gonna do.
Whites.
And then even though they're not La Liga, I'm not trying to compare the 2 leagues, but it was like I didn't even want to watch La Liga because I didn't really care to watch like Madrid. I didn't care to watch those.
Well,
teams.
yeah. Well, a reason I wanted to start watching the Premier League and not La Liga or one of the other Bundesliga.
Well, for one, I wanted to be able to understand the
Sure. But
They all speak
also,
English.
when you watch La Liga, it's okay. There's 2 teams that are going to win it.
Yeah.
Everything else is irrelevant. I mean, Atletico might win, but it's Barcelona and Real Madrid.
100%.
And Bundesliga, it's Bayern.
Yeah.
Maybe Borussia Dortmund. There's no shot. But in Premier League, you got 6 teams that legit
Could win it at any.
and then all of a sudden, like Leicester just shows up out of nowhere and
Yeah.
wins. So who knows? But yeah, that's why Premier League's great, because it's truly could be any of several possibilities.
And what I do enjoy about what America's trying to do with the MLS is they're trying to take what is great about Premier League and great about these other big leagues, but make it to where there's multiple teams that could win, because there's not there's not 5 or 6 premier teams that could win it. There's any team could win it on any given time because they're trying to break it up in the same kind of divisional types that football and baseball, what's made football, baseball, basketball. So
right. Parity.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have the have and have-nots and, you know.
Exactly. And, but the issue with that is that it's never taken off.
Yeah.
Like at all. For me, we go to Sacramento Republic games, which obviously are not an MLS team, although they've a couple of times that they've been. It looks like they may end up becoming one anyway, but regardless, we go to the games and we don't know the players, but we go for the experience. But I will say this, because so that we can to kind of put that final thing onto what you were saying with why do we cheer for teams? Well, I go to Sacramento Republic games with no investment in the team. It's just not as fun. We go for the experience. We get the street tacos and we sit in the stands and we eat nachos and street tacos, and we cheer when Sacramento Republic scores a goal. The last time we went, we sat next to their little like, you know, they have the guys who are hired by the team, and they're down there and they're getting everyone hyped up, and then they have the guys with like the horns and stuff like that. We're next to the cannon, so it's like we're next to the most hardcore fans of the Sacramento Republic. We don't care. So we're sitting right there and they're like going nuts, and I'm like, I wish I was going nuts right now, but I don't really care. I don't have the emotional investment in the team.
Because and I wish. I'm with you. I wish I could do that, but it almost seems when it's not a high level team, it seems almost like trivial. Like, why am I going to put my investment in this when it doesn't matter?
It's weird how professional soccer in America works, because like, what's keeping the Sacramento Republic out of the MLS? It's not the level of competition, because they play MLS teams. The only thing that keeps them out of being in the MLS is nothing.
No, it's all.
It's a stadium,
political.
Yeah,
and
it's really funny because they play MLS teams. They beat MLS teams.
Well, and they're
not a feeder team either.
Their attendance is more than a lot of MLS teams.
Yeah, we go there and the stands are completely full, and so it's all political because they're actually a really good program, and so. It's weird because they're not the same as other leagues, where other leagues have feeder. You either have feeder teams like the River Cats, which, by the way, I like going to River Cats games too. I don't really cheer for the River Cats, but again, it's the same thing. We go for the experience, but it's not as fun as when we went to the Rangers and A's game, and
well, the River Cats now is better now that they're a farm system of the Giants, who's
when they were of the A's, like nobody really cared,
right. Now, for me at least, as a Giants fan, it's like I either know them because they've gone up and come back down, from the big leagues to the leagues, or this is a prospect that might come up and might be on the team one point. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, I know. I hear it's you for just having that fun outing and not because you really.
It's hard because all of my teams, in particular, every single one of my teams is far away. It makes it really hard for me to be able to watch any of my teams live, right? The Cowboys, when they play the Niners, I get to watch that, or if they come and play the Raiders, which are moving to Las Vegas, so it doesn't even matter anymore. But it's like I don't have it's not regularly either, because we play AFC teams. We play each AFC division once every 4 years, and then in the NFC, it's once every 2 years, I think. So like we're playing the Niners. If we play the Niners, do we play the Niners this year? I didn't even look. If we do, we won't play them again for 2 more years. And so it's like there's just not as many opportunities for us to play them. And also actually we won't even play them at home for another 4 years, because we play them away 1 year and then it's a 2-year gap, and then we play them at home, so on and so forth. I think that's how it went. I've actually looked into that for some weird reason, but I've looked into the scheduling and it's something like that. So I don't know. It's hard for me. I have to get that experience somehow, because I like going to professional games. Like I go watch Kings games. Well, the beauty is the Kings do play the Spurs at least twice at home every year. So at the very least we do that. We opened against the Kings opened against the Spurs last year, and I have a friend of mine who has who has season tickets, and he was going to take me, but my schedule ended up not panning out. So
Yeah,
I feel like we didn't get accomplished on this podcast what we were hoping to get accomplished. Instead, we just talked about sports and fans.
Well, yeah, I don't have any answers for myself as to why we do these things we do to ourselves. But I guess people listening know that if they have similar issues or reasons, then they're not alone.
Yeah. Fair.
I guess. Well, take that for what it's worth.
One last thing, not even sports related. What games are you playing right now? Video games.
Video games?
Yeah.
RDR.
Are you playing it?
2, yeah.
Yeah. I was playing it before
But
you got
have
here.
PlayStation.
Oh, you're on Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox. Before that, I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what Sean was telling me. Sean's playing it right now. I can't.
It's awesome.
I can only play one game per like year because I just don't get into video games like I used to.
Oh yeah, I played Odyssey for I don't know 8 months. It took me to get through it, and I just started RDR here 2 months ago.
Are you playing story or are you playing online?
Just story.
I think they're trying to cross-platform it. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I play FIFA on a regular basis.
Okay.
But
you like really got into it because of Tottenham, didn't you?
Oh,
Is that what got you into?
Actually, kind of. It was kind of right at the same time. I started playing FIFA, and I was playing as Everton when I was playing FIFA, and then the World Cup started, and I was like, I really enjoy watching. I really enjoy playing FIFA. Like, I need to pick a team. Like, kind of all kind of coalesced together at one point. So yeah,
I actually enjoy the soccer games, like any FIFA soccer games. Actually, I like
I like playing
really
FIFA more than Madden at this point.
Yeah, me too. So this is gonna sound really silly, but one of the main reasons is you can. There's more options for character creation. I'm a big fan of character creation. I like creating a character that I have more investment into than.
Yeah. I usually my thing I do with FIFA is I play just Tottenham until I get through a few years and I get bored of it and I've won the Champions League.
Every single championship.
Yeah, and then I'll go ahead and I'll take a second division of Championship League team like Leeds United or something, and then I will go about the process of building them up into the top level team. Having them be promoted and all that stuff, and build them up and do the scouting and all that stuff. But when I do that, usually I'll create somebody or myself and put them on Leeds United as like a midfielder and play with them.
Yeah.
To have that investment.
Yeah, you play the midfielder and then the midfielder is the striker every night. I would play and I would score probably like 10 goals a game. Which is so ridiculous.
You gotta up that difficulty there.
No, I play with a high difficulty. It's the same thing with Madden, dude. I can play on all Madden, I can play on all Madden and score 60 points a game.
That's because in Madden it's easy to fold the computer eventually.
I feel like it's the same thing with FIFA though. I feel like I blow past guys pretty easily on FIFA, and there was a point in time when me and my brothers, we would all play together and we'd play like as ourselves or whatever, and it was pretty easy I got pretty good at juggling. I haven't played FIFA for like 3 years, so things could be different, I don't know, but it's been like 3 or 4 years since I played. I don't play video games. I bought RDR when it came out, like at launch, which was in November I think of last year. I didn't even play it when I first got it, and then I started playing it in December, near the end of December, and then online opened up and I played like every day. Like if before work I'm like, I have an hour to kill before I have to actually get ready for work, and I play. And then I stopped playing right after we went to CAC, so January, and then I didn't play again until this last update came out, and I just turned it back on like 4 days ago.
Yeah, I'm waiting on the online. I played once online, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finish the story first.
It's a lot of fun now.
And
I haven't finished the story. I didn't even play the first one, so I don't know what the first storyline was. The second storyline was. I've only played online.
Oh, I love the story.
I hear the story's really good, but I don't really care. I don't really care because it's more fun for me to play as a character I created.
Yeah.
I think my guy looks pretty cool too. Also, I get to roll around.
Is he young
dual
or is he
pistols.
old?
I made them younger.
I made
mine young-ish.
I made mine super old, like an old grizzled.
Yeah. Now you can have ponchos
with
and
the
stuff.
big sideburns.
Oh,
like,
you got
know,
like mutton
thing.
chops. Yeah, nice. No, my guy looks like me if I could grow a beard and I was in really good shape. He's got like Asian eyes, but then he's got like a beard which I can't grow, and then he's obviously you can't make him fat, so he's he's like a athletic version of me.
Cool. Well.
Cool.
Hopefully they do cross-platform it so we can play.
Yeah. Why'd you choose Xbox? What made you choose Xbox over PS4?
Because I'm an American.
You know PS4s are made in America now, right?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Microsoft versus Nintendo.
Yeah.
Or plus Sony. Sorry.
Did you see? Yeah. Did you see the? Did you see the little like meme that came out that said the one thing we all have in common, and it was it was X, because X on the PlayStation, X on PC, and X on Xbox.
No, I haven't seen that. That's funny though.
And then
it's true. Like people say like triangle. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Yeah.
You mean why? Y button, yes.
Well, it's funny because the X button and the cross, because it's not an X on PlayStation. PlayStation came out and said ours is actually not an X, it's a cross. I'm like, dude, it's an X. Anyways, so the cross is where the A button would be, and then the X is where the square button would be.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So your X
I don't
is
need
my
to
square.
know. I don't need to know.
Your X is my square.
I don't need to know.
And your A is my cross. Circle is your B.
Yeah.
Y is triangle.
I just know Y is triangle.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't know. This is similar to our first our episode 0 when I was on talking about the name. I don't think we got anything accomplished.
We got none of it accomplished. Well, I think that's kind of the point of this show is we get on and just random tangents.
Yeah. Well, no, all your other ones are like so deep and thoughtful, and
I
like,
think 2 of them have been deep and thoughtful. The rest of them have been kind of messing around.
the last couple, with Matt and Steven, and then Christian Miller and Ryan. They're all like deep and thoughtful. And
I didn't feel like Ryan's was that thoughtful. We talked about rap music.
No, but it's thoughtful. Like he has his preaching moments of.
I know they always go fire preacher on me.
I know.
So when I have Josh Long, I was really excited that you were coming on, and then I have Josh Long coming on as well next week. And the reason is I'm gonna get to have 2 lighthearted ones before I get back into a serious episode, because I have Julianne Benzel coming on. Actually, I have her book, My Stand, right here, and I'm about to read it. I actually have an OG copy of it too, because it's the anyways, I'm not going to talk about it because I'm reading it right now, and I'm going to talk to her about it.
I look forward to listening to both of those, Josh and Julian.
Yeah, the Julianne Benzel episode. I was very surprised that she even said yes to it, because she was on like a nationally syndicated show recently, which means that like millions of people watched it, or whatever, hundreds of thousands at the very least watched it, and she's going to come onto my little episode show, which is pretty cool. But
cool. Well, here's another episode that didn't get anything accomplished.
I know, that's my favorite episode.
You're welcome.
That's what I want. I want episodes that do not get anything accomplished.
Yeah. Next, you know what we should do? If you want another one of these,
I do.
We should have our wives on with us and talk about
that'd be awesome.
About the dynamic of talking of watching shows that the other one doesn't want to watch, but they make us, i.e. for you, the Bachelor franchise.
Yeah.
And
I can't stand the Bachelor franchise.
And Netflix cheating.
What's that?
You know, where you watch a show without the other person that you're supposed to watch together?
So we don't do that. And the only reason is that Ashley is allowed to watch any show she wants at any time, because quite frankly, I do get into shows, but if I missed an episode, I really could care less, because I'm not as invested. Like, I'm invested in sports. I'm invested in, I guess I kind of am invested in a couple shows. But I'm not that, like, okay, for instance,
but if
right?
so you're telling me if you came home and the show that you two have been watching for ages, all of a sudden she's 10 episodes ahead of you, and you're like, well, I don't have any idea what's going on now, and we're supposed to watch it?
Let me put it this way. She watches Empire, right?
Okay.
I can't stand that show. If I came home and the rest of this last season was all watched,
Well,
I could care
sounds
less.
like you. Then that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a show that you both do care about.
So I guess okay, I'll put it into this. So we both like The Good Doctor.
Okay.
If she watched it, like let's say there's 5 episodes, I haven't seen any of them. She watched all 5. I just watch them on my own.
Okay.
I don't care because you know what? If and if the next one came out and I didn't, here's my other thing is there's times where I'll come in and Ashley's watch it. She'll be doing that because I'm not that invested in shows. So the only reason why I continue watching certain shows is because I have seen so much of it. I'd like to see how it ends. That's my only thing. That's my only big thing. So like Empire, for instance, I have had the unfortunate I've had to watch pretty much almost every episode. I haven't watched every episode because she'll sometimes spare me and she'll watch 4 or 5 episodes without me. I've watched enough of it to where I know all the characters in the show. Well, they're in the last season. I could care less about watching every episode, except for maybe the last one to see how they finish the show. I have this odd fascination with how shows finish their show, how
they wrap up.
How they wrap up.
Yeah.
I could care less the journey that they got there. I could care less about it because I'm not that invested in it. And it's like, so here's one. Okay, I'll give you one show that if Netflix cheated on me, it's probably the one that I would speak up on the most. And it's not because I love the show. It's because we've watched 14 seasons of it. And that would be Grey's Anatomy. I'm not that into that show anymore. There was a point in time when the show was like in its prominence in like its 5th and 6th season where it was like, this show's kind of cool. And because there's something cool, I'm not into drama. I'm into like technical stuff. Like when like a doctor in a cause we watch a lot of doctor dramas. So like House. I love House. House was my favorite. There's no show, and I know how unrealistic it was. I don't care about the realism of the show. I don't care about that. I'm not that stickler. But like for instance, right? So there was a part in Grey's Anatomy where one of the doctors performed this surgery that nobody else could do. That fascinates me.
Right, you don't need
the drama behind it. He's dating her and the this and the that. I could care less. It's about
like when people watch Parenthood or This Is Us. It's like that's just like.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself through just emotional torment.
That's how I feel about This Is Us. But then there's certain things that happen in the show that I am interested in because we watch This Is Us as a couple. But again, those are one of those shows she could watch 4 episodes without me. I could care less. But there's certain things that are kind of cool on the show. I'm interested in interesting things. Blacklist. I'm very.
You know how that sounds, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested in interesting things.
What I mean is like
really?
Something that's
Tell
super.
me more.
I mean something that's technical, like something that's like uncovering something. Like I'm really into like mysteries. So like the Blacklist, for instance, I could care less about the husband and wife, and then I care about like what is Red Reddington. You like the
procedural aspect of going through and solving and figuring out.
I like the solving portion of it. I like that. And that's why I like cop shows. I like them weaving, and I like when it's not like a show where it's like it starts and ends in one episode. I want building. Like I want the story to build and they catch someone at the end of the season.
An overall arc.
Yeah. Like I want that because to me that's interesting. I could care less about the drama portion, but that's what gets my wife into it. So like for me to watch a show that's like a cop show, it's got to have that. It's got to have that drama for her to watch too. But I'm not that guy, and I could watch a show, big first episode and last episode, and be fine. I don't care. Okay. Yeah, I'm weird.
Makes
I guess
sense.
I'm weird. I just care about like what I care about, which is the.
That's. I mean, and similarly, I think I'm with you because I will watch House Hunters Renovation, and I will see which house they picked, and then I'll skip all their demo and picking out things and all the drama. Like, oh no, we have dry rot. Oh no, and then I just want to see. Okay, the house they picked, and what does it look like now?
Yeah, here's the end result.
So I can go through it in like 20 minutes instead of a whole hour.
Yeah, that's how I am. And then I just weird in the sense that like I love nuts and bolts of stuff, but I don't really care about the other stuff. Like with for instance, right, I manage a dealership, and you know, when salespeople come up to me, they want to tell me the blood type of this customer who's in front of them. I'm like, stop. I don't care about any of the information you're telling me. Like, I want the baby, not the 9 months. I don't care how the watch is made. I want to know what time it is, right? I don't want to know how the sausage is made. I just want to eat. That's my like thought process when I'm at work. I'm like, I don't care about any of that. All of that means nothing to me. What do they want to buy this car for? That's what I want to know. You come up to me and say, hey, they have this amount down. They want to be this a month. I don't care that their mother's brother's sister referred them here and they've bought 3 cars from here before and their son is here too. I don't care about any of that. I just want to know what they want to buy the car for. That's it. And then let me do my job. That's how I am with my whole life. It's not just work.
You're heartless. You're heartless.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds so bad. It's not though. People who know me know my heart. I'm not like I guess that sounds more cynical than it actually is. It's not quite that bad.
No one's going to divulge their heart to you anymore.
Not that I don't
Open up
give,
to you.
not that I don't listen and give my opinion to people. But I'm saying if it was a perfect world, people would just give me just the facts. I don't know, I sound terrible.
Isn't that a thing like Just the Facts, Ma'am, or something like Dragnet or some like old cop show?
Maybe I should have been a cop. Just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I don't know.
Let's wrap up so we can talk more about Tottenham Hotspurs.
Yeah,
because they don't care about this.
They don't care about any of this.
No,
nobody cares about any of this. I can't believe that I found another Hotspurs fan. I don't know anybody else who even knows about them. Because if you said, "Oh yeah, I watch Premier League soccer," they're like, "Oh, you watch Chelsea?"
Or Liverpool.
Oh.
Everyone likes Liverpool.
Well, that's our arch enemy, sir.
Arsenal.
Arsenal, yeah.
But yeah, increasingly so Liverpool.
Because of the recent back and forth. I have a really big disdain for Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Klopp love.
I care less about us hating Chelsea now because I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. One day I'm going to go to London, go to the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
That would be awesome. We could, you know what we could do? We could go, hey, couple, husband and wife, vacation to London or England, wherever. Let's go to the Eye of London. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Let's go do all of this stuff. And then be like, oh, hey, ladies, you know what they have? They've got some cheap tickets to the Tottenham game. We should go. That'd be fun. But then we're really there, like, faces painted. I would paint my face. I'd go with a horn. I'd do all of it. I'd go all out.
I don't know that they strike me as more of the button-down fans. They're not the.
I would go like that.
Central American fans who will,
Yeah. No, but that's the thing is I'd go there and they'd be like, we're super embarrassed that this guy's a fan.
Yeah, it's true.
I'd go with a drum. I don't even care. I'm a fanatic fan, if that makes sense. That's how I am with the Cowboys too. So we had a really good friend of ours who Ashley and I did. He and his wife, they were good friends of ours until they divorced. And that's a sad story portion of it, but fun portion of it to not bum everyone out. We used to have this pretty big rivalry because he was a huge Niners fan and I am a huge Cowboys fan. He is a huge Niners fan, I should say. So this is 12 years ago or whatever. 11 years ago. So we lived in an apartment at the time and our apartment doors faced each other. So we TP'd their house, but we did, or their door, because we're in an apartment. So it's not like TPing a house or whatever. So it was cutesy type. It wasn't like, we didn't defile their house. We literally taped it up on their door. And so there's toilet paper hanging from the doors. And then we had a giant banner that was across our door that had like cowboy stuff and all this stuff. And it had like, that you ever seen that like sticker on the back of cars, and it's like I think it's Calvin, and he's like peeing on something, and he's got that sinister look.
Yep.
And then whatever the other, so Ashley drew the Calvin picture with a Niners logo is what he was peeing on, and so that's like I'm a fanatic. That's like what I do. Like I love talking trash with other people about their teams, and I do it completely completely lovingly. Like I don't ever do anything to like hurt anyone's feelings. And like if somebody gets into like a really like you could tell they're getting upset, I'm not going any further. Like I do it in a fan fun way. So like you give it back to me, I can take it. I can take the abuse. Oh, you guys haven't won one in 25 years and coming on 30. Like I don't care. That's funny to me. I enjoy that. I enjoy that back and forth. Oh, Tony Romo can't win the big one. Okay, so what? Like I'm okay with getting that as long as you can take what I'm dishing out too, because I love that. I love dressing up, getting all crazy, painted face, like giant star painted on my stomach or whatever. I mean, I would never tattoo the Cowboys. It's funny is that I have tattoos and I would never tattoo any of my sports teams on me. I think it's weird.
Yeah, that's a little excessive.
Yeah, I think that's probably my line. I found my line. That's where I won't cross. I won't do that, even though I would never change my team.
Yeah. I never would either, but I still have all these questions. Like, it's like I have all these questions of myself, but that's not going to change how I operate.
Yeah, I think it's just fun to question it.
It's just my outlook on like I stopped judging people in how they operate in a lot of ways. Like, oh, why are you that? Why do you root for that team? That's weird. Yeah. Or it's like how I interact with people has changed more so than how I operate, because I'm still going to root for my teams the same as I always have. Yeah, so it's just it's more of like an external outlook on things instead of how I internally view myself. But
yeah, we're an hour and 40 in.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. I remember after our first one, you were like, hey, maybe you should make them shorter because they're they're long. And then I just can't have a conversation with someone that's under an hour long.
So I think it needs to be like 1 hour, 1:10. Because if they look at this and see an hour and 40 minutes, they'll think, oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah. I think that's true.
That's a lot of time. I can't invest that much time.
I know, and I can't stop. So I started doing. Let me ask you this. So
just go through and cut out all the
fluff,
all those terrible parts. And that'll get it. That'll get it down to.
Here's the thing: I don't listen to it all the way back until I've finished editing it. I don't listen to the whole thing back. I just know, like, okay, the bathroom break was right around this time. Like I could have actually. There's I have a thing where I can hit and it'll put a marker. And I didn't do that. I should have during the bathroom break, because then I could have just found the bathroom break, shrunk it down, and then been done with it. And now I'm gonna actually have to search for it for when there was a long lull or whatever.
Well, I don't know. Do what you think best.
I've gotten to the point now where I have a certain editing process. I'm not gonna be able to chop this up. Maybe I can go through it and find some stuff.
I don't know. The last few minutes you could probably take out. I don't think nobody cares about us and talking about
the way we watch TV shows
or Tottenham or
No, you'd be surprised, because when I have parents who are picking up their kids and they're in the line and they want to talk to me about the show, it's always the really awkward stuff. They're like, oh, I loved when you were talking about this. And I'm like, it had nothing to do with what we were talking about. Like, this is about sports. Somebody will inevitably on Sunday come up to me and talk to me about, oh yeah, when me and my wife were watching our shows, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that the whole show was about why we pick the teams we pick, right?
Yeah.
So that happens all the time. It's like when we get off on the tangents, I feel like because we're talking about a subject, it's somewhat scripted. And then we start talking about something that's way off the topic. And then you and I there's a lot of banter back and forth on that. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, it's so... Like it's not that we were not being ourselves when we were talking about the subjects we were talking about, but it's like we got so into who we just are during the other portions that people really do.
They dig that.
Yeah, they do. That's what I found, at least. I don't know. And I get random people who I did not even know or people that, like, for instance, Gabrielle and Nathaniel, the special needs kid in our thing. So his dad, who's from Hawaii, listens to the show. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. And when he talks to me about it, I'm like, that's super awesome that you know about the show. Or Jenica's dad watches the show, and he's a hunter. And so he listened to me talking about hunting, and he's like, that's so awesome. And I'm like, I didn't even have a hunting episode. It just randomly came up in one of the episodes. And so it's like he comes up. I missed an entire service because he wanted to talk to me about the show, and I didn't. You know, I want to be clear. I more than welcome the conversation. I'm not saying like he stopped me from going to service, because I more than welcome that conversation. It was a lot of fun, and I like getting to know people that listen to the show. It's pretty cool to get to know someone after I've done the show, because none of my friends listen to the show. Straight up, you're the only one. When you told me today that you listen to all the episodes, I was like, I felt really moved. I was like, man, either one of two things. Either one, he's my only good friend, by the way, guys. None of them are listening, so I don't even care.
Yeah, they're not gonna hear you.
Or two, we're not really friends, and that's why you listen to the show. And like, it's
one or the other.
It's gotta
Which
be,
one is it?
For sure, one or the other. No, but none of my friends listen to it. None of them do. Pablo doesn't listen to it. He's the producer. He doesn't listen to it. My son listens to it. None of my friends listen to the show.
Do they listen to podcasts in general?
No, they only listen to mine, because Ashley won't let them listen to mine.
No. You're for other friends who don't listen to you. Do listen to other podcasts?
Thomas does. Thomas is Pablo, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know. Pablo does. Not that much, though.
Why, can we review why we call Thomas Pablo?
It was because of you.
You're right, but I need to like actually refresh my. So his name is Thomas. What's the last name?
DeRozier.
DeRozier, okay. Thomas DeRozier. So how do I can backtrack Pablo, because we from somewhere.
It was PD Pablo.
Right. It was PD Pablo became
and
Pablo.
It was PD. So it was Thomas. It was Thomas became Producer Thomas. Producer Thomas was PT. PT is PD Pablo, and then Pablo. And then he said, "Oh, please don't call me Pablo." And that's why he stuck to Pablo. And what's funny is all of his his fantasy football name is different now, but it was Pablo. Looked this up at one point. So we've embarrassingly, we all play Pokemon Go at work. Actually, we play Pokemon Go because everyone at work does it, just as like a thing or whatever. And that's his like screen name in the game.
Pablo
is Pablo. Look,
so now it's him. It's part of who he is.
And it's become a part of who he is. But yeah, that's how. And that was you. That was a you thing.
Yeah.
We're like Producer Thomas, PD
episode
Pablo.
0.
Episode 0.
Not even episode 1.
It's now considered episode 2 because of when it was released.
Oh.
I
like being the episode 0, like it's like the lost episode,
the launch or whatever
that came after.
I think I will renumber all of them. I'll renumber.
You probably even can't do episode 0.
I think I can.
Oh.
I think I can name it whatever I want to. Oh. But it was released second, so I'd have to unrelease all of them and re-release all of them with yours before the map. I didn't know if I was gonna do ours or not, and then I was like, you know what? It's really fun. It wasn't until I listened to it back, I listened to that one, the entire thing back, because I didn't have like a good mixer like I do now. It was like a podunk put together.
Yeah, the sound quality's definitely improved since then.
Yeah, it has, and I have to do less editing now because of the equipment's better. But there was something endearing about the fact that I had shower curtains up in our first episode, and there was like a ladder with like a what was it? It was like a couple of bins that were stacked up, and we put a blanket over it.
Oh yeah,
so that there wasn't sound. And now I have like real acoustic treatments in here, and there's like sound deadening stuff instead of shower curtains and
sounds
comforters.
Much better. I remember listening to the first Matt and Steven episode, and I had to turn up my sound on my phone like super high.
Really quiet.
I had to turn up super high, where like I'd turn on the next thing and it'd be like blasting.
Well, I learned a lot about decibels after those first few episodes. Decibels. I did. I learned a lot about, because at the time I didn't know what -3 dB meant. I had no idea, and I was learning as I was going. So, and I don't have like a mentor who's teaching me these things. I would say that my mentors would be people who are doing it with me at the same time. Like I'm learning from
YouTube.
No, so surprisingly, I'm using different avenues. Like I'm a part of a bunch of, they call them, we joke that they're support groups, but I'm a part of like a bunch of podcast like groups on Facebook and stuff like that. And so I'll post like a random like, hey, I'm having issues with it being too quiet. And they're like, oh, what's your dBs? I'm like, I don't know what a dB is. And they're like, this is what it is. And then I learned it through that.
Defensive back.
That is true.
Right.
That is. It's also other stuff. No, anyways, we're quickly approaching 2 hours.
We need to bail
Bail on the podcast.
Can't before. Yeah, you gonna have to. You can't put this out there with 2 hours on it.
I'm gonna make sure it's gonna say 1:59. Well, and that's the thing is I have entrance music. Josh Long is doing my new entrance music, by the way.
Nice.
He's gonna put something together for me, and then
Is it a theme song? Like, does it say?
Yeah, it's gonna say unscripted randomness.
Unscripted randomness with a Geiger.
Yeah, not
Just like that, right?
exactly like that. But I think he's gonna like play, and Oleg will probably play the drums a little bit because Oleg's gonna be on it. Not Oleg Moskov, the boxer. Oleg, the drummer. Yeah. All right.
Pretty cool if the boxer was the drummer.
Yeah.
Seems fitting.
He actually wants to speak at one of our men's things. He asked me if PG would do it, and I'm like, well, I don't know PG like that, so I don't know.
All right, well, thanks for having me on and
Yeah.
allowing me to try and figure out my
Even though we're terrible,
my
at it.
worldview.
I'm probably the worst person for you to have had these conversations with because all we did was spin it around and have more questions at the end. Oh, dang it! Cool, man. Thanks.
Yep.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you did as well. Obviously, we didn't get a whole lot accomplished. All we did was raise more questions. But at the end of the day, man, that's kind of the point of being a fan of a team and having that kind of a camaraderie with someone. So my next week's guest, God willing, is going to be Josh Long and Oleg. We're going to, I don't know, man, we're going to sit down and have some crazy conversations. So that's it. God bless everybody. Pablo, play us out.